Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a fascinating video because Ding Liren is back. He's back at top level chess. Kind of. So what happened is he is playing in the Chinese team championships. They're concluded on April 27th. He played 5 games there. He went undefeated, had gained some rating. I think before the final round he'd gained 6 points and was up to 2740. So he's gaining rating and closing in on some of the world's best. I think he was very close to Hans Niemann at one particular point. We will have a look at that in just a moment. So I'm going to show you his 2 victories, or 3 victories. Did he score 2 or 3 victories? He scored 3 victories in the first 3 rounds. 2 against international masters and 1 against an untitled player. And then in the 4th and 5th game that he played, he drew 2 grandmasters with an average rating of about 2640. So here was his first round game. He's playing Chi Chenbi, I don't know, and he played a Caracan defense, which was really fascinating. We got d4, d5, e5, bishop f5, and the international master plays a Tull variation. We get h5, now c4, which is one of the moves. It's not the most common. We get e6, knight to c3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, all relatively well-known stuff. We get knight d7. Now knight ge2. Normally you go to f3, but in this particular way of setting up, you can put the knight there on e2. We get bishop e7. Now g3. Very flexible move, just securing this pawn, which can become a weakness with this battery. That's also why the knight sometimes is very good on f3 because it defends, but now you're forced into g3. We get knight to h6. And here you and I would play what the international master played, but it's a horrendous mistake. Bishop takes h6. It looks like such an interesting move because you have to force the rook to take, because you're not going to take and damage your structure. You're going to have to play rook takes, and now you can't castle kingside. You only can go queenside castle, and white just has an automatic attack. And yes, I suppose you can play like rook g6 and try and attack this way, but white's pretty happy here. You would think. The engine thinks black is better. We get now a3, and here Ding Liren makes a mistake, although it's quite a natural move, and mistake is being used a bit excessively here. We get queen b6, which just puts pressure on this pawn. Straight up, but now you have to play b4. And a5 to undermine, I just play b5. And you can take that, but you can also play c5. But now knight to a4, queen c7, and now rook to c1. White only drawing move here, because their pieces are not exactly comfortable. The only drawing move here is b6. b6. And you might say, wait, doesn't that just give away a pawn? What about knight takes? Yeah, but now you can play bishop b5 check. King f8, and now knight takes c5. This is a way for white to equalize. This is how you have to go about it. Instead, they play rook to c1, which looks dreadful because after c takes d4, it just looks like black is lost. After bishop takes e6, it looks like black is lost. Rook hits the queen, bishop's hitting the knight and the bishop. You can't take the bishop with anything at the moment because your queen hangs. But there's a move here for Ding Liren. It's the only move for black, but it's the best move. Queen takes e5. And he's winning, because you can take my bishop. I'm just fine. Yes, you can castle. I have d3. Like, you and I might be like, wait, when did that pawn get there? When did that pawn get there? It was this c-pawn that took on d4. And now it's gone to d3. And now, after knight f4, you've missed. I can play knight e5. Yes, there's rook c7. I can play rook d8. Ding Liren is not interested in castling anymore. Rook e1, king f8. Just stepping out of this line. Absolutely incredible. Knight to c3, looking to try and do some stuff. I just take a free pawn. Ding Liren is now up 2 pawns. Knight cd5, and the game ends. Bishop b4, rook moves, d2, and when you play f3, rook h d8. Where does your knight go? Where does anything go? Ding Liren wins his first game in 25 moves. His second game was, also quite convincing, but it was far more brilliant and flashy. He had the white pieces, and he played in English. Ding Liren is a c4, d4 player. He doesn't really go into e4. I mean, he's one of the pioneers of a Catalan, one of the great theoreticians of the Catalan. Doesn't play it as much anymore. We get e6, knight to c3, and now d5. Invitation to kind of go into more of a Queen's Gambit decline territory. So we get d4, and now c5. Tarash defense. C takes d5, and now the mirror image capture. Psych. E takes d5. There is a way here where you can play this. This is a line. This is a thing. And now there's like queen a4 check. Bishop d7. And queen takes d4 is some opening theory, I believe. If you go for the mirror image capture. But instead we just get the normal e takes d5. And now knight to f3. And really both sides want to be taken rather than take, because what you're going to get is an isolated queen's pawn position, which can be quite tricky to play. So we get knight to c6, and now g3. I told you, Ding Liren loves putting his bishop on this diagonal. We get knight to f6, bishop to g2, c takes d4, knight takes d4. Black accepts that this is going to be their weakness for the whole game, but they are going to try and play around it. We get bishop to c5, and knight to b3. You don't want to take and fix the black structure for them, so you go back, bishop to b6, now knight to a4. I want that bishop. And Yun Meng, the international master, 2483, says you can have the bishop. Takes, and pawn takes. Not queen takes. No, because then I take my eyes off this. Pawn takes, now my rook is open, so I have got some counter-attacking opportunities. Knight to d4 into the center, rook to e8, and b3. Ding Liren's just not castling at the moment. He's perfectly happy to play f3, and now e3, and allow h5, and now short castle into this, having pushed all of these pawns. And he's fine. He's fine. You can play like this, apparently. It's perfectly fine according to the engine. h4 comes low. Now you have to play g4, and like aesthetically pleasing, this does not look good, because, you know, h3 is just coming at some point. We get knight to h7. And now we play h3, does Ding Liren, and by we I mean him, simply because this is a weakness, so like queen e1 looks to almost round it up straight away, but the knight's coming in, and you might be able to put pressure, and maybe f5 if you can get it. So we get now queen to f6, just putting pressure on the knight and the rook behind it, so the knight can't move, might play g4, might bring the knight in, might sacrifice the bishop, might take, you know, lots of things to be done here. Bishop to b2. Now queen h6. Like, Ding Liren didn't have to work very hard for these victories, I'm going to be honest. He was kind of handed them a little bit, because knight c2. Just retreating out of the center. This capture is no longer possible. And what does black do here? Because you are like moments away from like almost trapping this queen, and just having a huge attack on the black king and completely overrunning black in the center. So queen g6, now queen d2, rook a d8, knight d4. Mistake. You don't have to go back. You can just play the move f4. You open up your bishop. You threaten to attack the queen. The engine here wants knight f6 coming back. So already maybe you've seen this was a backward step. Now queen f2, getting behind this attack. And now b5, apparently. Just play on the other side of the board for black, because you can't touch the king side. So knight d4 is not necessary. Knight g5 is the miss. Again, you should play this. You should play this. Yes, bishop takes. But now knight g5 is better. Now knight g5 is better. Now that you've resolved this tension in the center. And yes, queen f2 comes. But you can kind of get away with like bishop b5 attacking the rook. Rook fd1. And now this move that's maybe what's missed. Knight e6. Counterattacking the bishop, getting out the way of f4, and just doing this. Maybe that's what's missed by the international master, because we get the immediate knight to g5. Rook ad1 is not necessary. Ding Liren here wins with knight b5. Looks like it doesn't make sense, right? The point is, what does black do? The engine wants f5, which, you know, a brave man will play, and now just knight c7. And you're coming back to win this pawn after you move the rook. So, like, rook f8, knight d5. Ding Liren just wins the pawn. So, rook ad1 is a miss. Bishop c8 is also a miss, simply because you have to take this knight. as we discussed. That's what you have to do. So neither of those moves get played. And now Ding Liren moves the knight out the way, can't be captured. He plays b4, we get f5, brave man, queen h6, f4 from white. Now takes, and the knight goes out to c7. To what end, I don't know, because now we get bishop to f3. Bishop takes g4. Looks brilliant, just by the way. Looks absolutely brilliant, because there's bishop takes g4, and one would assume queen g6. And now it looks like you open everything up. However, king h2. Queen takes g4, rook to g1. It wasn't so brilliant after all. Queen f3, check. Knight comes out to d4. Knight takes d4, queen takes d4, rook d6, rook dg1, h3, mate in 5 for Ding Liren on the board. Can you find it? Can you find mate in 5? Ding Liren does. Rook f7 check. Brilliantly. King takes, queen g7 check, king e6, rook g6. Mate in 2. The only move here is king f5. At which point you have rook g5 check. King doesn't really matter if king e4 queen d4 is mate, and if king back to e6 then rook e5. And Ding Liren wins his second game. I will briefly cover his third game, and then we won't cover the draws. This was against an untitled player. And you can see there were a lot less pieces on the board coming in the game. Ding Liren had the black pieces, so let's cover it from his perspective. And here he plays e5. He doesn't play a caro. And we get a 4 knights, which is very drawish. And I suppose if you're playing a Grandmaster, that's what you do as an untitled player. So it was a Scotch variation, a Scotch gambit. Played with the white pieces. And, you know, this is all theory. So just skipping over a little bit, this is mainline theory. It's been played hundreds, if not thousands of times. Ding Liren has to complicate things as much as possible if he wants to win. I don't know what his mindset was going in, but it is a team event. So you want to win and perform well for the team. But I'll be honest, we got here and a lot of stuff was traded. Like, we got to this position after 25 moves. Ding Liren was up like 15 minutes. But what do you do here? Like, what do you do? Black structure is probably weaker. So you could just snap take the queen and then agree to a draw. But you could take queen takes a2. Now, queen c3, queen a6. You got to defend everything. Once you're up a pawn, you're probably winning. But it's not easy because why? There are always checks to the black king. Now, white has picked up that pawn. Very easy. And now you can very easily be caught in a box. And it's perpetual check. And Renjing Huang gets a draw against Ding Liren. And that becomes the YouTube video title. But queen takes d2. Now, h4. You might say, wait, hang on. I thought you said about a box. Why are we playing h4? Isn't this just a draw? Check. King here. Check. Apparently not. Apparently, king h7. And if you go for c6, which is probably what you want to do, with this f2 check. Like, it is always a draw. So you've got to be careful how you do it. And not get too adventurous. h4 is still fine. Now, queen g6 offering a queen trade, which might be a winning king and pawn endgame for Ding Liren, although the engine says queen takes a7 is the only move. Queen takes a7. Apparently, if you trade queens here, you're probably lost. Yeah, you are losing, because, like, I just walk up and I take this pawn. I'm very close to it. That is the also inherent problem. So we take on a7, but now the queen comes out, and now I win h4, and Ding Liren is slightly better. You lose c6, but you pick up f2 with check. That's also an important thing. The white king is in the middle of the board. Queen f3 check. And now I can play h5. And now look at this coordination. Everything is guarded. And there are no checks to the black king. That is the hardest thing in queen and pawn endgames. Not allowing a perpetual. And look at this. I don't even take back and hang my queen. I just push. And now white has to stop it. So takes. And now they can't push the pawn. Because they would hang their own queen. So how do you get back? How do you get back? Oh, you give a check. King to h6. Check. I push the pawn. No more checks. No more checks. I can give a check. I can give a couple of checks. And I can play h2. And there is nothing because the winning idea was for white to go here and to skewer. And to get the pawn back. Queen on f6 guards. And Ding Liren wins. 44 moves, it was a bit longer. They would have got to a more classical time control. But if you consider that the position after 25 moves was this per side, you would have imagined a draw. The engine does like black in all these positions, so white didn't exactly go about it the right way. But still, you would imagine the black king gets caught in the box. Ding Liren just had so much time to work everything out. Like here he spends a minute. Here he spends a couple of seconds. Here he spends a couple of minutes. And you got to go about this the right way, because the last thing you want to do is now get a winning position and blunder it by perpetual check. So he finds all the right trades. And here the big mistake, white draws with king c3, not king d3. Because even if there's like queen e1 check, you can hide on b2. And yes, there's this check, but now you just play king a2, and you can hide your king also on the side of the board. You didn't have to go to the center, where there were a few more checks and a way for Ding Liren to coordinate, and he did a fantastic job. And up to this point, he was performing really, really well. Then he makes 2 draws with Grandmasters against Xiangzhi, who I'm sure some of you may know. This was a 31-move draw. It was Ding Liren playing with the black pieces, a Rogozin defense of the Queen's Gambit, and it was, some opening theory they played. They, went for some interesting stuff here, kicking out the bishop, constantly danger levels, but we trade queens. A few moves later, we kind of get into a decent position. We grab the bishop, and now we trade off a set of rooks. We bring the king over, and sooner rather than later, we trade off another pair of rooks. And now we trade off the knights. And 31 moves, they played to a draw. No one really tried to do anything. They both played at 99% accuracy and just couldn't be asked to do anything more than that. Then Wang was his final game. This ended by 3-fold repetition. Ding Liren with the white pieces goes for a similar thing. F3, the Xiangzhi variation of the Nimsa Indian. It is, some theory. And we get this. And, you can play this. This is quite a dynamic position. But again, if you're just content to trade everything, as Grandmasters can sometimes be known to do, you can end up repeating moves and making a draw. Simply because this is a weakness. You would like your queen here, but every time the queen goes here, you don't want to move your rook off the open file, so you play queen here. Then if my queen's not doing anything here, I go here to just have access this way, so I come back. And we make a draw. Stalemate. Effectively, not actually. And so Ding Liren was close to 27-40. I think he only gains 3 rating points at the end of this. He had a performance of 27.95, so really, really good there. 4 out of 5. Obviously, 3 wins and 2 draws. So now a live rating as of May of 27.38. And, that puts him really in good standing. If we go to FIDE, it might break everything. But if we go to, ratings, top, as of May, Ding Liren is 14th in the world. 27.38. He's 1 point behind Jan Krzysztof Duda and Vishwanathan Anand. And he is 13 points behind Arjun Erigaisi. And let's see, Wei Yi is the top Chinese rated player, 27.53. So that would put him 2 and 3 is 5, 15 points behind Wei Yi and the top 10 in the world. So, yes, he didn't play anyone amazing, but a really solid performance, and he's 14th in the world. He's now above Johan van Foreest, he's above Pragdananda, he's above Gukesh, the person that beat him for the World Championship. He's above Jan Nepomniachtchi, he's above Hans Niemann, he's above Ricard Laporte. So, the rumors of Ding Liren's demise were perhaps a bit premature. Let me know if you think he's back. Will we see him back really, really at the top level? Or is it just going to be the occasional event in China or the occasional online event? Like we saw he was in one of the early rounds of the Speed Chess Championship and things like that. It's a shame. I don't think we'll ever get prime Ding Liren back. I don't think we'll get the Ding Liren that was like a monster in 2018, 2019. I don't think we'll get him back. I wish we could. I would have loved to have seen that. Going back and seeing how he played those years. I mean, he was the one person that Magnus Carlsen may have feared. It would have been awesome to see a match against that Ding Liren, against that Magnus Carlsen. We didn't get it. That was when everyone was just peaking. But he was something special, 2,800 and a bit. Yeah, and even the candidates, Ding Liren in 2022, I mean, he still finished second place. He still had a fantastic tournament. They defeated Hikaru in the final round to get second place. Had a fantastic World Championship match, pair of them. The match against Nepo was really, really fascinating. And the match against Gukesh, despite what people thought, I thought was really, really fascinating. So hopefully Ding Liren is back. Hopefully he's in a better mental space and physical space. Those matches really took their toll on him. So hopefully he can be back, if not for the chess fans, then for himself. But I hope he's in a better mental frame and he's happier playing chess now than he was a while ago. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think of Ding Liren in the comments down below.